Child of Light tells the story of Aurora, who is a young girl from 1895 Austria that wakes up one morning to find herself in the lost world of Lemuria. And fairy tale creatures live there. All the creatures you read about in books that you don't think are real, they're real and they're here. And at first she thinks she's in a dream and she's trying to wake up. And then gradually she realizes that it's not a dream and that in fact she has to sneak into the throne room of the Queen of the Night in order to find a mirror to take the journey home. And to get there, she has to recover the lost sun and the moon and the stars that the Queen has stolen in order to get the Queen to retreat so she can get to the throne room. When Patrick Plord, the creative director, approached me with this idea to have a young girl who flew, and he had the feeling of the world in a soundtrack that he had created, and had the paintings of John Bauer and other fairy tale artists saying, I want it to feel like this, I want a space like this. So that's what he had, and then of course when he approached me, it's like, oh my God, this is my opportunity to create a story of someone from our world who stumbles upon another world. And from there, I developed the idea that Aurora comes from 1895 Austria, and a lot of the events in the game have to do with real places, or the idea of Lemuria is also something that exists. If you Wikipedia it, there was a continent that scientists in the past thought existed between Australia and India, and so there's a big overarching narrative having to do with why that space has vanished from our world, and all of the fairy tale creatures are real creatures that exist in our books. So it's like this place might actually exist, and that to be able to create that in an interactive space is my dream. When I was developing the world, we were thinking about Old English or other ideas, and other ideas of how to create the right tone that matched the painterly aspect and the way that the music would feel. And so I started writing the demo in traditional prose, and then we had been working with the concept that the game is a playable poem. And suddenly, Pat came in one day, and he sat down and he said, I have a crazy idea, don't do it. But what if the game rhymed? And so my first reaction was, yeah, that is true, that's crazy. But that night, I started really going into how would that work if it were possible? Because I wanted the game to have a distinctive literary style, and to be able to create a popular poem that's mainstream for today. That seemed absolutely impossible, something that no one would ever attempt, and I love that. I thought, okay, well, I don't want it to sound like Dr. Seuss, so every line can't rhyme, because I think that's too children's book. And also, if you're playing for 15 hours, it gets really annoying. So I didn't want that, and then also every other line rhyming, like Lewis Carroll's The Jabberwocky, I think also would start to get too melodic and too grating. And then I hit upon one of my favorite poems. I read it a lot because I love the fantasy of it again, Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is about this crew on a doomed ship. And so that rhyme scheme is called ballad form, where it's an A, B, C, B rhyme scheme where the second line rhymes with the fourth line, and everything's written in iambs. So there's this rhythm like the C, but it's not in your face. And I think I would assume that it's called ballad form because you can write and write and write in it and it doesn't tire you. Once I found that poetic form, I took the demo and I decided to do a try. And so I wrote that using the rhyme scheme, and from there it just took off. And it's great because it allows couplets for emphasis. So if you want to hit on a very important point, you stick a couplet in the middle of each 4-line stanza. And because the game is in text, which we knew from the very beginning, we weren't going to record many voices at all. And so it allows you to see, all the 4 lines together, so the player is participating in the challenge of the rhyme scheme. It's almost like watching an acrobat do a trick that the audience can detect if you messed up. And so it's a feat, and I'm really proud of it. The whole feel of the game, I think, is a breath of fresh air, in that it relaxes you and transports you to another place rather than tightening you up and making you tense. Also, the artistic collaboration in the game, the way that the art director directly expresses his vision through the world, and the score also, the creator of the score is directly expressing her vision. And with my writing, no one got between me and what I wrote. There was no management saying, I want you to change something or something else. It was my decision, what went into the game. And same thing with the gameplay. And so I think that all of that self-expression is evident in the game. And I also think that a fairy tale world that is set in kind of Eastern European, darker fairy tales, but not, American McGee's Alice. It's not trying to be gothic at all. It's trying to create a earnest, sincere fairy tale that's bittersweet and true to life. And then the fact that it's in rhyme also really sets it apart from other games. It's very important to me as a writer of video games that the gameplay itself tell the story, because otherwise I think that the story should be created in a different art form. I believe that games are about acting, that you as a player get to act out a feeling or a journey that someone else has lived, or create your own journey. And so I think that from the very beginning we knew Child of Light was going to be a JRPG. That was the director's vision. And so when I saw that, I knew that the story had to be about maturing, because that's what happens in JRPGs mechanics, and also about collaborating, because there are partners in the game that you join or don't join, depending on what you want to do in combat. And also because of the co-op, you can sit there and play with another person on the couch who's playing Aurora's friend, the Firefly Igniculus. And so that relationship also has to be a big part of the story, because those are the mechanics that you're playing. And so at the heart of Child of Light is Aurora's journey, the way she flies, the way she enters battle, who she's fighting with, and the story enhances that. Or rather, the story is that, and then the plot enhances that. Right now in the industry, we have this space, this huge space in the middle between AAA action blockbusters, like Transformers, the game, our Call of Duties, and small philosophical experiments that might exist in a gallery in Soho, or in a small space for a limited group of people. And that in the middle, there's this opportunity to do games like E.T., to do games like Juno, this space that is so full of potential. And I hope that, with Child of Light, we're trying to wade into that area in the middle and explore it. And I think that there's this wonderful opportunity to visit whole new worlds that we can't even dream about right now. Child of Light comes out on April 30th on PC, Wii U, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PS4. And I hope you enjoy it.